Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oskar Ssemweya Musoke, and in the studio already I have Honorable Ssemweya, Honorable Katonga. You're most welcome to Gang, gentlemen. And I have one of my favorite traders, the young Mr. Joshua Mawere. You're most welcome to Capital Gang once again. Here we go. You're most welcome to Gang once again.
Thank you so much, Oskar, and I'm glad being here. Good morning, listeners.
Thank you. I'm also expecting Dr. Mukiza. But just before we came on air, Honorable Katonga was telling Honorable Ssemweya that it seems the Parliament of Uganda is the supplier of news. Like, in one evening, you can set what the gang will be, and then, bang, a presidential letter comes out. Okay.
I thought you were talking about Dr. Mukiza. How does that get...
That was the program for today with Dr. Mukiza. And then a letter comes out, bang. And you know, the president is hogging headlines. So, Mr. Moe, you met with the president, you left dissatisfied. But this time round, I put to you that it seemed that the president was reasonable and the traders were not so reasonable.
This time?
Would you agree?
Did you say this time?
I did say. I have sympathies with the traders.
I wouldn't agree with that.
But the president was very logical, very reasonable.
I wouldn't agree with that. We addressed the president on particular issues. And if it was in football, the president scored very many goals offside. and I'll be very categorical that he deliberately avoided the things that we addressed him on, which were very logical things, because we addressed him on tax administration, the introduction of technology, which is very good. No trader said it, we don't want to use it. We said it does not suit our operational behaviors. And I requested that there should be a way it is customized towards us, if it fits to work. Secondly, we addressed him on tax justification, that if a tax is going to change, thresholds are going to change, the traders should know or should be engaged so that we do speculative trade with some level of certainty. He didn't address us on that. We also spoke about the tax valuations, that you can't do any business if you don't know what you're going to be charged. If you know you're going to be charged $3 today, and by the time you come back in 2 days from China, it is at $7 per piece. And nobody tells you it's going to change for the reason A or reason B. You just find yourself in that situation. We say there should be standards in evaluations. We also addressed him on tax morale, which is a very noble cause everybody is talking about. How are we spending our money? Can we be a little bit frugal? Can we look in other areas where we can get revenues for this country as opposed to entrenching taxes on the same small tax base? These were logical issues. Now, the president opted to address us on the longer term perspective of the country, which we agree with. It stretched Vision 2040 in that small discussion that he made. But we wanted him to address himself on short and medium term issues we had presented to him. So he didn't do that, and that led to the dissatisfaction of the traders, and they actually wanted to show it again by moving out of that meeting. And I want to...
I guess which would have been rude.
Yes, it would have been rude, but I mean, if all the ladders tell you that the last person who can address these issues is the fountain of honor, then at the end of meeting him, he opts not to address any of those issues. Then it is a failed meeting, and it does not suit. It never went by the agenda we expected, and so we were dissatisfied. Today, we're still discussing the logical framework of how he presented himself on the issues that we had tabled on his side. As traders, we're still thinking that there is space for him to address us on what we put on his table, and also we're critically thinking on his perspective. Bwana Oskar, his perspective was not wrong. It was a very good
he says
very
you're
logical.
not patriotic.
Yes, very patriotic.
That you
and,
can also start manufacturing, and you'd be supported if you're a manufacturer.
Exactly. We agree.
And don't make other countries richer. You're making
agree with that,
China rich.
Oskar, it is a process. Not everybody can shift from a shop into manufacturing. So the question is, what are the insulators or motivators of people to go into manufacturing, and what are the amenities that are available? The president went ahead to give an example of a former member of parliament. Oskar, that was very out of the way. How many traders have the opportunity that an MP has had? How many traders have earned that money for 5 years and they have made those contacts that the MP had made? And the president uses that one as an example to the traders. I think that was very unfortunate. The president called on board Miss Adruku Violet. She was former MP for Katakwi, woman MP for Katakwi. She lost 2021. She never came back. So she opted to go into trade. Now, the president said, on my way to here, I talked to one of your traders. And she was very happy with how she was doing business. So we were very happy to listen to who is that trader. Unfortunately, the person they brought on board to speak to us and educate us about taxes and how she's remitting her taxes and businesses thriving in the country was a former member of parliament. And she's a distributor, a sole distributor in the Eastern for Mukwano Industries. I don't know how many traders can get to this.
Interesting.
So it was...
There are others that say maybe you needed to pitch it differently because tax will be paid.
Yes.
And he has continued to suspend that every system so that you eventually iron out the issues. He's suspended for traders.
No, he suspended penalties.
Penalties, yes.
Which we addressed him on. But that one, he just upheld what he decided in the previous discussions.
Until June.
And that was good. And
he says the things to address is the cost of a gadget,
yes,
availability of internet,
yes,
and maybe the penalties themselves.
Exactly. And this is why...
But there are people who think that maybe you need to address things differently. You could have told him the road is bad. So if you are bringing your goods, like he talked about broken toilets, you could have told him electricity is expensive. And maybe that's a different kind of discussion you needed to have.
I want to disagree with you that the things we addressed him on were very pertinent on how businesses thrive in this country. If we are to achieve economic growth in this country, then the local wananchi must be part of that growth. It is very possible to achieve economic development in this country because you can develop with anybody else who brings in money in the country. But if the local people don't have the money to participate in that development, then there is no growth in the economy. And what we are saying as traders, that you can't keep eating away what we should remain with in terms of trade. Then you make trade not a viable venture and not attractive to anybody. And when we continue doing this in this country, then we're going to chase away all the traders who are starting to commit some of their capital into business. And you're going to encourage a growth path of passive entrepreneurs, passive investors. People go into treasury bond, unit trusts, and they don't employ anybody. They don't pay any other taxes, but they are investors, and they'll be in this country. I think we need to check whatever the traders presented. It was very reasonable, and the president needs to address them in the short and medium term, as opposed to his long-term responses that he gave. They are very good, logical, very logical, but that is a path to Vision 2040, and we have somebody who is going to fail to take their child to school tomorrow because of the tax regime. Now, you cannot address those two aspects in the same can.
Honorable Ssemweya, Joshua Mawere also makes sense in saying the president's vision is 2040.
Since when did you become a Dr. Uganda?
The other one made sense. This one is making sense.
Yeah, because he's always looking for peace.
Yes.
Oh, both of you are right.
So, what's the way forward?
I think for me, the starting point, I am not sure.
And I should welcome Mr. Robert Kasule Sebunya. head of Prime Minister's delivery unit. I wonder what delivery unit means. But you're welcome to Gang, sir.
Okay. It's supposed to be it's a sort of think tank that is supposed to look like if there are problems, they could bring them to us, or we could go to them.
And you think over it?
Removing the bottlenecks.
Okay.
Some of what they are talking about, maybe they should have started with the technical people before they.
Did they know that? Did they know that you exist?
We do. Otherwise, I greet the listeners of Capital Gang and thank the colleagues that.
Thank you for coming. I also knew they exist. I knew they exist this week. I did not know they exist.
Kasule was with us in Parliament.
Yeah, so you know him.
Chairperson of Parliamentary Committee on Finance. But I didn't know they had created for him
an office.
Not creation.
A unit under the Prime Minister.
Previously, our head was Professor Suruma. So he shifted, and then I am the current head of that unit.
Agatha Atuhaire, you're also welcome to Gang. Great to have you. You are seated in a mighty chair, of Onopondo's chair, so you may have to wear your yellow hat on.
I have yellow hat. So
I'm saying you may have to wear a yellow hat on.
I think O is bereaved, really. We don't have to.
Yes. Today is the burial of his mother. May she rest in eternal peace. Yes.
You see, for me,
Or
I
back
think,
to the traders.
yes. The starting point should have been for government. I don't trust their statistics. Is to know how many people are involved in trade. And then, because you are in a country where people have no jobs at all. I remember one of those days when I had gone downtown, many of university graduates leaving these universities are also operating downtown because there are no jobs elsewhere. So the moment you know that trade is employing this percentage of the population, then you deal with it from that context. Because sometimes those arcades are empty. People start shops and then they are closed the following day. The part of the reason is taxation. Of recent is also the number of buyers that are available. There was a time when I think the South Sudan was buying most of their essentials from downtown here. A bit of Congo, Burundi. I think Rwanda no longer comes here, but there was also a time when they are all buying from us here.
The President deliberately decided that trading with the Uganda should be minimized.
I have mentioned many countries. You have said the president, so I don't know which one. Is it Sudan?
Rwanda.
Yes. So so trade employed a sizable number of people. So dealing with it, as I said, if you are government, you need to deal with it from that context, and then you can go to taxation. Because apart from maybe petroleum products, a bulk of the taxes is also coming from traders. So every tax that you are going to introduce, even when you want a export-import substitution, you need to deal with that factor. The president argued that if you're going to start textiles here, that actually these guys are donating jobs to China and Dubai. But what do you need to start with? I remember one time I had an argument with borders, the way they conduct themselves in town. And a friend said, no, we just need to ban them. I said, no, you don't ban them. If you're going to bring an alternative public transport, then you employ them. But you start with it. You don't start with a ban. And then you create a crisis. So this crisis that we are in, many of the people are involved in trade. You are rendering them jobless, either through taxation, other expenses. And if you have nearly now 500,000 girls who are in the Middle East, who are working as maids, you need to also think about rendering others jobless. So having said that, Oskar, let's look at where this problem started. The problem actually did not start with a particular tax. The problem that caused the strike was a problem of enforcement, because URA said the old system, many people use it to avoid, and therefore they say now to be able to get everybody to pay tax,
The numerator, the numerator was supposed to have arrived at 10. He arrives at 10:30.
Abdul, don't do my work.
So URA wants to correct taxes, and the best way they thought they could was to go digital, get everybody registered. The immediate reaction, many of traders, was because URA deployed the enforcement officers, and they started checking delivery of goods. So either you buy or you are transferring from one store to another, or from a factory to a shop, or from a shop to a shop, and they started inconveniencing the business community. Because I was told by traders, I didn't experience it myself, that they will stop someone carrying a box and they're asking where is IFRIS. That's why at the beginning people thought it was also maybe a tax, but all they did was a receipt. Are you on this receipting system? So the traders said, no, they are chasing away people from shops. But also, these boxes that you see that are moving in Kampala, sometimes they are moving from a store to a shop. Sometimes they are moving from my shop on this street to another shop here. So, but you can't keep asking every box, where is the receipt, where is this sort of a receipt?
Well, there's money to be made out of it, because if you have a wrong receipt, I think the fine is 6 million, and that has been determined by Parliament.
That's by the per entry.
Oh,
So
per
one
entry.
one box one box of 20,000 you can be charged 6 million. So that's where we started.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Let's go to
it's very difficult. It's very difficult for government not to enforce that. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
But the traders say, no, you do so after a lot of sensitization. Government say, no, we started this long ago. And then for me, because the traders are not the ones who are paying taxes. Taxes are paid by consumers. I think the genuine complaint is that the economy has slowed down. So there are not as many buyers as there used to be.
Okay.
So you if you had 10 and today you have 1, maybe you will think that these taxes is the reason. And then Oskar, finally, the second thing was the garments that you're going to charge. Yes, I think $3 per kilogram. The president said he wants to protect local industries. I don't know those industries myself. I don't know them.
In some ways, he says he's agreed that this should be looked into as well. But Abdul, taxes have got to be paid. There's no escape from them.
It's not even about escape, it's common sense. Taxes will always be paid, there's no doubt. There's no country which doesn't pay tax, and there's no country which will develop without paying of any tax. To me, the most fundamental question which the traders raise actually is about how do we, as collectors of their tax, utilize it. That to me, that's very, very fundamental. You see, if we go and collect tax for purposes of service delivery and there is no service delivery, then it is really fundamental. And that's not a question for only traders, but for the entire country. All citizens in this country have got a right to ask, the taxes we pay, is it being utilized for the purpose for which it has been paid? I think that's fundamental, and that debate can always go on and on and on. It will be raised and so on. Where do we invest the sort of monies we collect from everybody? Do we have infrastructure? Do we have health services?
And the cost of trade?
Yeah, those sort of things. That is very legitimate, and that's an issue which I think the traders are right to raise it, both with the president, with the parliament, and even a public discussion about it. However, I differ completely with people who thought this was going to be a useful meeting. I don't know whether that idea ever got into their mind.
They've scheduled another one in June.
Come on, they're just wasting public time. Totally wasting. You see, how do you manage public affairs? These traders have got leaders. These leaders should sit with the leaders of this country, policymakers, and the president, and discuss things in detail. Just don't call thousands of people and say you are in a meeting to discuss what? What you saw, and I watched that video footage, it was just emotions, blackmailing each other. We are going to start even, there's one, Oskar, who amused me, said, Mr. President, hundreds of these traders who have come, some are your supporters, but there are many who don't support you, and they all clapped. They all clapped, and I looked at them and said, so why have they brought the man there if they don't support him and they want to discuss with him? So,
They don't have to support him.
no, they don't, but do you have to tell you, we don't support you, therefore let's discuss?
In a tax meeting.
I mean, you don't have to support a president, but if there is an issue, don't start with that, because you put somebody off, or Agatha. You get it? Because you say, okay, we are your enemies, so you discuss with us. You don't blackmail people at that level. So to me, I thought the leaders should have sat with the president. First of all, you got some concessions, I think, in your first meeting. You should have reported to your body, the traders. They should have given you further instructions. Sought another meeting, went and discussed with them. But don't call a political rally and you call it a meeting. It doesn't work that way. We are even going to start feeding candidates against you. Did you expect him to reply to those?
Okay.
Absolutely not. So to me, if I were to advise the traders, there are issues which are legitimate. For example, tax administration. How do you handle it? Procedural issues, how do you handle it? There are substantive ones, like I saw the president said, okay, this issue of penalties, I direct, don't enforce it, which I thought was also unfortunate because it is a matter of law. I think he would have said, okay, let me engage with the lawmakers and we find a review of that particular provisions within the law, because it is logical, it is legal. But you can't say there is a law, say, please don't implement that law. It doesn't make sense, because it is like now you are going to somebody and you are requesting him to be magnanimous. And I said, public affairs should be run differently,
Okay.
Oskar, because there is a law. And if the president is convinced, he said, okay, I'll take up this matter with the parliament, and they change the law. They repeal or they amend it. You get, and that will be okay. You achieve for what you. But these general meetings of yours, I think, is for public relations, and it ended up like I thought it would anyway.
Agatha, how will this end?
I think, first of all, the president in this country, Honorable is the law, if you didn't know.
Is the law?
Yeah, he doesn't care about the law, and I am sure many people know that. He has never cared about it. He thinks he's the alpha and omega who resolves everything. The rally that Honorable Abd is speaking about in Kololo is not a fault of the traders, it's a fault of still the president, because how there should be structures to these things. I remember in 2011, that's when I started really to see, and maybe that's when I started paying attention to these things. When I became
You know that microphone, you have to be a little bit louder.
So there were many problems in 2011. Walk to work, teachers strikes, everything. There was meetings with President Museveni every day. You told the taxes, and you would say, but there are other people, there are other structures, there are other institutions. Why don't they work? So that's why the president meets.
Now we have a delivery unit as well.
Then, and that was something.
Is that a compliment?
That's what Agatha is saying. There are other structures. Now we have a prime ministerial delivery unit.
And the structures, Honorable Ssemweya already said it when he said, Honorable Ssemweya was with us in Parliament, I didn't know they had formed for him something. That's what they are. They form for Honorable Ssemweya, not for service delivery. The traders, I think some of the issues are not really legitimate. If there's nothing wrong with it, they are not adding them a tax, really. I think that the biggest problem is a government that is not accountable to its people. When you listen to the president that day, I think I found him contemptuous of people's issues. I would have walked out, I think, as well if it were me. And if you have people that are raising issues, it will go back to Parliament and how these laws are passed. Were people consulted enough? Were they given enough time over issues they raise? That, we are just, it's a semi-informal sector or informal. We have not gone to school to acquire the skills that this system requires. Can you give us time to get everything that is required? That's, I agree that would also be problematic. You can never work on the timelines of people they would want to always put it off. But I think there's a better way to resolve these issues than that. So yeah, sorry about that. I think the point really is that we should allow systems to work, legally mandated institutions to work. The ministers and the Robert Ssemweyas here to work, not just to be created for. The president can't be the only one solving everything. When we have complained about the cost of public administration, when we have public delivery units coming up, investors protection units coming up. But the other is that we have a population that has lost confidence in its government, that everything is going to be seen with that suspicion. And Honorable Abdu talked about service delivery. We are paying taxes and we have no roads to drive on in this country. So people are going to really be suspicious if some of the issues are not addressed. I think the issue of taxes in this country has been an issue for a long time. There's a cartoon, I don't know by which cartoonist that we have here, either Ogon or Spire, of a cow being milked that is shrinking. So we feel that we give more as citizens of this country than what we get from the government that we pay taxes to. All those are issues that I think the government needs to take seriously and know that there's no service delivery, there's nothing we are seeing that our taxes is doing, and everything is going to be seen in that light. People have spoken of the tax base in this country. Tax to GDP ratio should be still below 14 in this country. We still have a budget that 75% is always externally funded, and we cannot fund even half of it. The issues are there. You have heard people talk about taxing cows, right? We keep thinking that the tax base is narrow. We keep thinking that citizens of this country are not prioritized. That, for example, when you talk about investors, which investors do we prioritize as a country? Which investors get tax holidays and tax exemptions? How have the local investors, for the president to say that, to blame the traders for Uganda becoming a supermarket economy, I found that unfair. That you have presided over an economy for 40 years, and you think that the Chikubo traders are the ones to blame for us importing everything and trading in imported goods. How have you supported manufacturers in this country to do that? There are issues of costs of production in this country. There are issues of ease of doing business in this country that are there. Can we start with that? And then when we are demanding more of traders, there's something to show for that. That after 40 years, we have supported these traders. We have had bailouts and whatever. But then we've seen big businesses in this country that have employed many, that have contributed a lot to the economy, like the beans cars, the Ssemweya. No one cares about them when they are going under. I think the problems really originate from that sort of mutual suspicion. I don't know if there's suspicion also from the side of government, but from the side of citizens as to how they are benefiting from the taxes they pay.
Okay.
These issues have been there for a while.
Okay. Mr. Robert Kasule Ssemweya, the head of Prime Minister's Delivery Unit.
Thank you. As I said, not said before, but I would have wished to reply to some of the concerns, but at the bottom of everything, we see concerns. Government has concerns, the traders have concerns.
Government wants money,
everybody
the traders
wants money,
have concerns.
and everybody knows that.
Let me first welcome Dr. Chris Mukiza.
Yes,
officially, not Abdul welcoming him. It is my job to welcome him.
Okay.
He's the ED, UBOS, and National Census Commissioner. Most welcome to Capital Gang.
Thank you.
Go on, Robert.
Yes. So, and everybody is complaining, including our global economy. The US is complaining about China dumping. Europe is complaining about China dumping, the excessive capacity China has. Africa, and in particular also Uganda, is also complaining about dumping.
Australia had a fight with China, and China said we will not give you.
We are complaining about dumping.
Yeah, with the president
Started that complaint.
The president said
okay.
the president said so. We shouldn't become a supermarket for China. So in the short term, we have to deal with the traders, and when they complain, we are supposed to listen. But also, I would say, I used to deal with the Casita. Okay, the traders through Casita. When I was in Parliament, when I was Ssemweya made the assertion here that I was his chairman in Finance Committee for some good years.
Not an assertion, you were.
Okay, I were. Okay. But I think the problem I see, because whenever they talk about taxes, I'm inclined to immediately think about it because I used to deal with it. So it started as everybody knows, started with the IFRIS, that electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing system. And because there are now many leaders, it's no longer Casita. It is now also competitive. I think every arcade or 2 or 3 have leaders. So
And some associations being sponsored by the state.
you see, now others are being sponsored by the state. So now I thought now
That you always have.
they have failed to handle their matter, because as Parliament, when bills are brought from Ministry of Finance, they call traders, they debate these issues, they see where there are wins for government and there are wins for traders, and this matter the system must have been debated and legislated about. And if it were not legislated, then they would be in court, and nobody, maybe they would say stop it or something. But because it is law, government must implement. URA must implement it. But I think they were high-handed in their administration, because there was not a single announcement that this program is going to start. The moment they finished with the manufacturers, they thought it would be easy, cascade down to the lower levels. And in their own thinking, I think they also used enforcement, including the army. And you know how people react when they see the army. The emotions, of course, already the public is annoyed with bad roads in the city. So there are many agitations. So I think the best way they should have handled it is, as we said, start with the technical people, appeal to higher authorities within, because as they were addressing to the minister, some interview on radio somewhere, I heard the Minister of Finance was saying, I've never seen these people. And they were in the middle of the strike. I only heard about it on radio. I don't know. I'm the alpha and omega of these issues. Where are they? I and the president. So it's as if there were a disconnect between the MDAs and the traders. So, and once they shifted from IFRIS to then other issues, to even a public rally, I think you would see they were going in the wrong direction. And I think also it was because of the accusation.
Oh, hold on, Joshua, you are next on the microphone.
The accusations that the public assigns to the leaders, that when leaders go to State House, they are given money and they are compromised. So the leaders this time suggested, I heard from them, it's the leaders of the trade organization associations that suggested that we need all the traders to engage with the president. And you could see
why are they leaders then?
Because I don't know why they assigned their responsibility to the general. Because they were met, they talked, even the president issued a letter, and those ideas were not going to be changed overnight by the president, because he elaborated his meeting and what he could give and what he could not give in a public gazette. So I think we need to engage more. We know there are concerns, but there are those that you can take away. Just like Honorable Katonga said, if the president is agreeable to an issue, then he must take it to where it is processed, which is Parliament. But the way they were talking, they were even insulting the leaders, they were insulting the MPs, they were insulting everybody. That was not an engagement. That was a show of force by everybody. And they couldn't win.
What happens
so much.
to the next
I think what we should advise, and they know, if you are complaining about VAT, insist on VAT and give references to other countries and how they have processed VAT. Because
if you are complaining on IFRIS, give advice on how it can be improved.
Give advice. If it is to raise the threshold, put it. It's okay. If we cannot say billion, let's start with the 500 million, maybe 400 million. The threshold for people who the real VAT.
I.e., look for a win-win.
Yes, look for a win-win as you progressively engage with the government.
Abdul, can I say he's also reasonable?
And by the way, I did not start the delivery unit. It is Professor Sulma who started the unit.
Yeah.
He worked his 10 years. And I was thought fit to fill the shoes. No, it wasn't.
They didn't start it for you. Okay.
And it is in many countries.
Chairman of finance, and these were easy issues. Yes. Only to add that my experience in the Parliament is when these tax bills come, there are not many traders who get interested in it.
And
because these tax bills come every year, and they don't get interested in it. You even put out adverts and so on when the committee is processing them.
They only hear when it
has hit them.
It has started to be implemented. That's when hell breaks loose. So the time of engagement should actually be earlier, and I encourage the traders now that every beginning of a financial year, there is a tax regime coming, and you need to get so much interested and engage the relevant committee of Parliament.
Dr. Chris Mukiza, as you both or in a personal capacity, do you have anything to add on the tax matter before we put you in a hot seat? Because we have been warming it for you.
Personal and professional.
Personal and professional.
Well, thank you. I listened into the debate and also to the media about traders protesting. And I want to agree with Honorable Katonga that payment of tax is inevitable. It is even biblical. As I'm also telling people that counting people, census is biblical. We cannot run away from paying tax until when you die. That's a fact. And secondly, I also want to agree that when these bills go to Parliament, they have a platform where they allow people to come and participate and give their views. And now once something has been passed into law, you have no way out. And maybe the regulations setting the implementation procedures, as Honorable Robert is saying. And I also I have failed to understand why IFRIS is an issue. I failed to understand. There was another innovation the Parliament approved, the digital stamp, you remember?
Yes.
And it's being
which had been actually initially requested for by manufacturers. They used to say that time that the importers are bringing cheap and counterfeit goods, which are under, which is making them fail to be competitive. Now, when the digital stamp came and it was catching those who were manufacturing and dodging excise duty, they revolted. The same applied when the government imposed 10% on importation of crude oil. You remember the other one of the cause of inflation in the 2022. Because the same manufacturers had said the crude oil from Malaysia and Indonesia is not crude oil.
Yes, it is semi-finished.
It's semi-finished.
It's the oil.
Process.
And in fact, it was true because Malaysia banned exporting crude oil. They add value. So when Parliament added 10%, they now started. The same manufacturers started saying, you know.
Did you verify those IFRIS gadgets? Because there was
that's not for statistics.
That's not for statistics.
ENBS.
I beg your pardon. Yes.
Maybe if they are saying IFRIS gadgets are doing some fraud against them. But what I would advise my brother, because we are also traders, I have a hotel for myself, and I have been directed to use IFRIS. And me being a senior government official, I have to comply. I don't want Muju to have an opportunity to have a fist against me. They will say, you see, the same people. So, and me, I live by example.
Right.
So I think they should engage first the Ministry of Finance, where tax policy is bust before it even goes to Parliament, and then things will be okay.
Over to you.
I also wanted to respond to, I don't know her name.
Agatha Atwaire.
Yes, as I launch into what you're about to put me in, I don't agree with her that the president is the law. For example, yesterday when I went to enumerate him, he had already assembled his media with TVs. So I told him, according to the fundamental principles of official statistics and the Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act, the information I get from my respondents is strictly confidential unless you publicly consent. You who is giving me the record that the media should be here. He said, he said, so I don't want them here. So they went out. I used the law.
Yes.
And the president complied 100%. So he's not the alpha and omega of the law. Once he signs it, it is a law. And it catches him. Yesterday, it caught him live. And his people went.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But let us finish.
But you see, the doctor should concentrate on his statistics.
Not that comment. And
because
we finish.
You see,
we are going to him.
The case that applies to this particular one is the tax on gold. They were supposed to tax them per kilogram, $200 per kilogram. They complain. But because many of them are relatives of Mr. Museveni, he sat down and asked finance to suspend, and he suspended. So these guys have every reason to go to Museveni if they want a particular tax or its implementation suspended. It has been done in the law that because we've just gone through tax bills. The VAT, I'm not sure that it was VAT or income tax. Aga Khan of Jagari wants to continue with tax exemption.
Yes.
And I told Parliament, you see, we are ridiculous. I was giving actual information on Abdul Katonga who was speaking. In the VAT, the amendment that has been made, government intends to collect 74 billion using that bill that they brought to Parliament. In the income tax amendment, they are exempting Aga Khan to the tune of 74 billion. So in one tax you are imposing a tax on citizens. In another law, you are exempting one person from paying the same tax. So Museveni is the law. Absolutely, there is. I mean, the MPs, my colleagues, were released by court in Masaka, And Museveni said they should be in jail. They waylaid them and kidnapped them until he said, okay, now I am satisfied with 2 years. The same court, you even make institution to look ridiculous. The same courts that had said these fellows should stay in prison because they are going to interfere with investigation, now said these MPs can get out on their own accord.
What shocked me is the example he used, like as if the
But Oskar, I think at some point, if I understood Dr. Mukiza well, it's like people who have responsibility should act in accordance with the law, including when the president's wish is different. For example, the point the Honorable Ssemweya has just given, we rejected as Parliament that exemption. We said no, but it had come from government that we need to exempt Aga Khan, because we have exempted him for 10, 5 years.
15, no, it has been perpetually coming.
And cumulatively, it is around over 500 billion perpetual exemption of taxes. So we said no, this enough is enough. This time no. So let them come back, but I expect members of Parliament to say, excuse me, there is no justification for this. So people should be able, instead of like every time say, no, the problem is the omega, what do you call it?
Alpha.
The law, the alpha and omega. People should be able to stand up and say, sir, this is not correct.
Agatha has given us another word. He's the law.
So you say, sir, no, this is not correct, and that's what I understand.
Oskar, I want to
what do you take? What do you take from his table? Let me give you 5 uninterrupted.
Some of the things.
Yes,
Agatha
you have
saying
5 minutes.
Agatha saying the president is the law. I think she's very right, because we've been through all the lobbying systems towards him, and we started with the tax administrator. They said we can't handle these issues. Go to the Minister of Finance. We went to Minister of Finance, said I can't handle these issues. Their policy. Go to Parliament. Went to Parliament. The Parliament said, some of these things you're speaking to, there's only one person who can respond to them.
That is if it's only
His Excellency the President, and that's how we reached there. So it is the government institutions that have actually.
And who did you engage in Parliament?
We have petitions to the Speaker, petitions to lead opposition. We even sat in a committee specifically constituted by the Speaker on trade, and the other was, there were two committees put together. They had to suspend it for 10 minutes to look for one of the ministers of finance to sit in that committee. You can imagine. Parliamentary committee wrote and the minister didn't show up. None of them. So, and from that same meeting, the minister said some of these things are for cabinet discussion, and we shall get responses from there and come back. And he actually said the meeting with the president should proceed because some of the information we would be glad that he receives it directly. So we were pushed there, and is the alpha and the omega.
Was passed if the law was already passed and being implemented.
And that's what we are still expecting.
Many years.
So about timeliness, I think what I want to tell the legislators here and the other government officials is that trade is shifting from our older parents who had never gone to school to a generation that has gone to school, that is exposed, that knows the timing of some of the things. You will see us quite oftenly coming in time. And we expect you to respond to some of these issues because they will be very logical and from very informed perspectives. About engagements, I think, Oskar, Parliament continuously and deliberately doesn't want to engage people on issues that it's going to discuss. And I think, I don't know whether it's a budget issue or something, but what we've found out is that most of the things Parliament will put out, say we're discussing this bill and all that, but there should be a deliberate process where government writes and calls and invites people who that particular bill is going to affect, and they have this discussion.
You see, we finished tax bills. Casita appeared, private sector did, manufacturers did. There is even something I got to know, the American Bureau of something.
Yes.
So we met more than 15 groups that came when we were handling this particular tax, including yourself, Casita.
Exactly, yes. So
I don't know, I am new in the Committee on Finance, what has been the case before, but this time we met all of you.
Exactly. What I'm presenting myself on is what has been the trend. But this time around,
that one you are not correct. Let's have the fact. You don't just get interested because there is no parliamentary sectoral committee that sits, first of all, behind closed doors. And whenever they are going to hand a bill, they process it with the stakeholders.
Then, Oskar, I'll say that.
But what you should do,
they're going to see us more oftenly now, more interested in
because you are the biggest stakeholder. When there is the finance committee is meeting, please come and make your case publicly. The Gabonese make some noise.
Now you are also
our takeaway, Oskar, as traders. One, we still need the president to address himself on the issues that we presented.
So will you attend the June meeting?
Yes, we will, because he
Who will
mentioned
attend?
Because the leaders, it's for the leaders with the president. No, it's just going to be Errare. We're going to attend it for one reason. He said he wants to work out a process how he helps the traders transition into manufacturing. That's one of the reasons why we're going to attend that meeting. Because over time, and I think he's very assertive on it, he wants the traders to shift. We want to see how he's going to lay out on what processes and how he assists the traders to transition. So we will attend that one. But also, on the other side, we still insist that INFRIS should be redesigned. Some bits should be redesigned to fit the local operations of the traders. And the president gave some examples. He was prompting the Commissioner General. How do you, if somebody buys goods and returns them, how do you treat that within INFRIS? We didn't have answers.
If you have damages.
Yeah, if somebody takes on credit, and how do you treat that?
Now that you have sat with Robert Kasule Ssemweya, will you employ him as well?
So some of these things should be looked into, and also the issue of tax morale in this country we've all spoken about. How is it utilized?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Joshua Mawere, representing Kasita today. Your official position is chairman of
the youth traders.
Chairman of the youth traders. Thank you once again for coming and debating and standing up for Kasita. Let's stop for a quick break, and after the break, Dr. Mukiza will go to the hot seat.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM. The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome to the gang. After the short break, we've been discussing traders and taxes, and straight into the hot seat is Dr. Chris Mukiza. So, Dr. Mukiza, I as I was driving into the station, when I got here, the news bulletin, Capital Radio news bulletin had you, and you were saying things are going very well. You have started very well and so on, but social media is murdering you. And then here just now we've done a poll, who was counted, and on this table no one was counted, maybe only yourself. So things that did not start well. There's a perception that it was a very underwhelming start, and the public holiday was not employed very well.
Yes. We issued a press statement last evening explaining why we did not perform as earlier anticipated. Of the 114 enumerators, 14,000 enumerators that are supposed to work, 20,000 of them had not been assigned responsibilities on the system. And I'll explain why, how the responsibility is assigned and what are the
Because all that should have happened before census day.
Yes. And the rest of the operations were okay. We trained everybody, every enumerator. Now, we started making alarm as early as first week of April. When you got rumors that local governments are not calling those who applied online. We have an online application system that was put, the photo that was put before the public at the advert time. That system is supposed to capture everybody who has applied, first of all. Then it sieves those who have minimum qualifications. Then it shortlists. It also implements the aptitude test to eliminate, if the numbers are many, the way we do aptitude test, online aptitude test. Then those who pass aptitude test were supposed to go to their districts for oral interviews. Now, when I think that was the second week of April, the week of Eid al-Fitr, we got the news that many local governments, because we decentralized now, checking the documents, it is many local governments are working behind that system and are calling those who never applied online to come for interviews. And some of the people who had gotten alerts that they have shortlisted should come for interviews, whenever they would reach, they would turn them down. That is the root cause of the problem. The politicians were the biggest culprits. Some mayors within this city of Kampala brought buses of people and they were forced to be interviewed. Now, after interviewing them, of course they started training them, including some. Of course, there's a majority of districts that passed through the same system. The over 90,000 enumerators that are already assigned responsibilities. Now, when we gave them the structure and the numbers of people to take per parish, and they had over-recruited, what they did was to remove those who had passed through and left the back door enumerators. Now, when it comes to training, of course, they are training using training module in these tablets.
At their meeting, the traders, there's someone who stood up and said, Mr. President, are you still the leader of this country? No. The one you've called a political rally. So I want to ask Dr. Mukiza, are you the National Census Commissioner?
Yes, I am.
Because it seems that you are not the one.
I'm the one.
You are the one.
I'm still explaining.
So far, the narration is like you are not in charge of anything.
I'm in charge fully.
And I'll read you some messages here. On Twitter, on X yesterday, David F. Kempanga said a perfect working day has been wasted, but nobody will lose their job or even a single day's allowance over this debacle. Nobody will even bother to apologize. Complacency, blind acceptance of abuse, and so on. Then you have Peter G. Mwesige. He says, I have no problem being counted today, but the incompetence, corruption, unethical practices, trust deficit, cynicism, and it goes on. Then Philip has sent me a message, say, tell Dr. Mukiza to first say sorry in capital letters. His statement.
Rubos had apologized, so I don't know whether it's true. But
Yes, of course we said sorry for not covering as many households as possible, because anyway, what we planned was that, and still starting.
Apart from the president's, did you cover any houses?
Our plan is the enumeration will take 10 days.
Yes.
So nobody should have expected that we shall finish the whole country in one day. That's why the enumeration is from 10th to 19th. The reasons why we requested for a public holiday are two. Since it will take 10 days, we wanted to have a public holiday for recall purposes. Recall. If I come to your household maybe on 18th, and I have forgotten the census night, which is the 9th of May, leading to 10th, which was a public holiday, you would use it to know, because there's a question, who stayed in this household on census night? So if I come on 18th or 19th, somebody may not know. But when you say, do you know when the public holiday was? They say, yes. Who stayed in this household? That was the one cardinal reason. Okay? The second one was to do what we had wanted to achieve, which we failed. To find as many people as possible, especially in urban areas, because they are workers. We failed because of what I'm telling you and how we are trying to rectify it.
Okay, so how are you rectifying it?
Now we have asked the district census officers, who are district planners, and district information technology officers, or city technology officers, to assign responsibilities to these 20,000 enumerators, because they are now already with us. We can't disown them. Assign them. What we are happy about is that the public is enthusiastic to be counted, and the enumerators are also crying that the machine not working. Because when they are trying to enter the machine, it is taking them to training mode instead of the enumeration mode. And by the end of today, I've been assured they are rectifying that. And now, once they have been put in the system and assigned the responsibilities, they will know the areas where they are going to work.
Just a final question.
So far, we had expected to cover 1 million households yesterday.
And
yes,
1 million. So how many were covered?
Now, by end of yesterday, we had got 560,000 households.
Census, Uganda had 4 million houses.
No, it had 7 million households. So that's why. So this one was really underperforming. And one of those reasons is that we had wanted to capture Kampala, your area, Kira, Wachiso, in these 3 days. But we didn't anticipate that these people would not be assigned because they just came from aside.
Okay,
And we have
let's have some discussion around the table, and then we'll come back to you. Let's begin with you.
They trained and
Dr. Mkiza, first hold on a bit, and we start here with Agatha. You were not counted. Is that what you expected, or you were disappointed?
No, I wasn't disappointed. Is the microphone working now?
Yes, you just have to be louder.
That one is inconveniencing me.
Yeah.
So I wasn't counted. There's no one I know that has been counted so far. Yesterday I don't know Museveni. There's no one who is my friend that has been counted, or my family. Yesterday I said I'm going to ask 20 people to just sample and see 20 people randomly, and they were not counted. And we are seated here and no one was counted. How many are we?
Yesterday evening we met with another 25 people. Well, about 15 were in the same area. We said we have sat home, let us walk about, and none of us had been counted either.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand
Dr.
the
Mkiza.
rationale for a public holiday out of 10 days of a census. Make all of them a public holiday so that we know that public holidays. Because you knew you were not going to cover the entire country in 1 day. But also you knew that according to the paper I see, the questions are on 29 pages. Yeah? The questionnaire for the census. One, I don't know how long that takes to count the people. But according to it also, any member of the household could account for everyone. So there was no need for a public holiday. And I don't think people stayed home necessarily but also those that stayed were not counted. He said it is for recall purposes, like recollection. It doesn't, I don't know if I will never recall it, even if it was a public holiday. Maybe it works for others. But I think, well,
at least you remember. At least you remember the day you waited for a numerator because of public holiday and they never came. No, that's what she's saying. So if you didn't wait, how do you know that numerator?
You have improved the memory.
How do you know a numerator came to your home or not if you are not there?
Do I move with the home?
No. If
Exactly what I
many
said.
of them close
They
their
are,
homes.
they are asking people who slept here on the
Ninth.
9th.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be all the members of that household to give this information.
We didn't say so.
I'm saying. You didn't so.
You're actually
But
saying what we,
Dr. Mkiza, first hold your fire.
Okay,
Don't
so-
echo.
so-
Then we'll come back
So
to you.
the reason Oscar, the reason I wasn't disappointed is that when the expectations you have in anything in this government, in a person already like at basement level, there's nothing that will disappoint you. There is no program in this country that works well. There's no efficiency, there's no competence. You will find issues with, he's talking about politicians bringing people, like, and he's the one who said, and he's the one who was saying that there's a law in this country. What does your law say about recruiting enumerators? Why are you entertaining politicians bringing untrained people to you so that on census day you have people who cannot use gadgets you are supposed to use, you have people who are not trained to use them? You are like already admitting failure on that part.
So, hold on, Dr. Mkiza.
Yeah.
First hold on.
Yeah, you can write it down. So, for me, I don't know, Oscar, I don't know a program that has worked seamlessly.
Yeah.
There was SIM card registration, there was like so many things that happen, and because
The
people
election tabs.
here and do not follow.
There's IFRIS as well. Okay.
Do not follow the law that they are supposed to follow. That this is how we need to recruit people to do this exercise. These are the skills. Maybe this is the training they should have. These are the this is the equipment they should have. I think you saw many that didn't have any, and some that didn't work in Mbarara, in Serere, and many that he mentioned here today. When you are first of the census, you fall under your target by half. That's a very big failure. I was not disappointed because I think at the end of the day that's how it works. We have big exercises like that are for making money, that are inflated, that people are going to smuggle in their people. The recruitment and employment in this country has been like that. Everyone knows it's more about technical know-how, about politicians coming and saying, I want you to employ my person, and people will not ask
Don't point at Kasule Ssemweya.
I did not point.
Okay.
I will point at other people. I think
Okay.
even Honorable Ssemweya has a relative in Parliament in the Chief Whip's office that he occupied. So then.
Thank you.
The recruitment exercise and how it works, and coming from someone who started by saying, no, the president is not the law, he allowed me to do this and that, but he failed to implement any law or policy that was saying recruit these people and this number. And
Thank you, Aga.
Yes.
Let me go now to Robert. Kasule Ssemweya, I should caution you first that you are the one who's supposed to say all these good things for Dr. Mkiza.
Yeah.
In fact, to deliver.
I should
You are on his side.
should announce my interest in the census, because he appointed me as a census champion. Census ambassador. And
You had forgotten the title.
No.
To which you are appointed.
we are supposed to help galvanize the public towards the census, and very many have been talking about the census, and we have been mobilizing the people. And why it was asked for the public holiday to happen as a census, even biblically, they say Jesus walked home. They walked home to be counted, and that's when. So everybody is supposed to slow down such that we are counted. So it is a very important day, and that's when we are expected to enumerate at least the urban.
Robert, that's all okay, but
Yes.
the problem is we were not counted.
Yes.
So
but now the
are you
problem
part
is-
of the structures to blame
The problem is
for no counting?
Yes, the problem is we changed from the analog type of census now to digital, and it's the beginning. It's the beginning of this technology being used. So we'd expect some slowness. But when it happens, you know how leaders vulgarize issues. And even so, on TV, these youth were so aggressive, as if they were not trained. And now that's why I confirm that the district leaders instead shortchanged the people who were supposed to do the work to their friends and relatives. And they were saying in unison, we were not allowed to log on. Of course, you wouldn't be allowed to log on because right from the beginning, you are not supposed to be part of the enumerator. You are just coming in as a friend because you have education and you thought you would manage it. So the machines have betrayed them, and now I think they are correcting the system.
Was there a trial run? Trial run, yes, but a decentralized process. I think that was the trial run was the best way. Decentralize, let the Karamoja people recruit the people they know from the area, who know the houses, the homesteads, who will work easily, and it will not be expensive on the government. We know how government also works. They gave them money almost at the tail end to buy the tabs and whatever. By the time the tabs came in, it was almost time for the census. Not sorry on their decision, but you know how parliament works and government works. Yeah, you give money too late to be used properly. Or at least not parliament. Let me excuse parliament.
We appropriated that money.
Yes, but the releases did not come as anticipated. That's what I mean.
Does parliament
that
come
is government.
That is
now.
you.
No, that is now government.
That's your
So
to deliver.
And
delivery unit.
what we want, the comfort we want to give our population, we have 10 days. Okay, we are not all counted on the first
no
day.
have 10.
Now we have 9 days.
No,
but even
8.
the 9
8.
is not cast in a stone. We can even adjust the 9 and say, okay, those who have not been counted, wait for another 5 more days. That is acceptable, and I think it will happen. So what we expect our public, please keep calm. We know how angry people were that they waited. I also stayed home, and I even took chance to walk around the village I stay. But everybody who found
You
me
never
stopped.
stayed home.
No, I used
You were
time.
walking
After some
around
time,
the
I walked around the village. But people were stopping me and asking, why?
I left home at 5. When I called you, it was 5 p.m.
Yes.
And you were still home, waiting.
I stayed all day.
No, but I used the time to at least have a walk. But when I walked, people were still complaining. But at least I had, because I'm next to Mulimira village, which is Nakawa. And they were saying, okay, the enumerators are in Mulimira village, but they are slow, yes. And the population in Mulimira zone is so big.
In Chigwe, there was no sighting.
They will take time. They will take time.
No, there was no sighting. Let's go to Joshua here.
I pray that we take calm and we wait for the enumerators to come. But otherwise, this is a process which is...
You were not counted? Were any of your family counted?
I wasn't counted, and I kept home and waited the entire day. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to speak to my...
Those are 2 days in a week of not working.
And we were discussing census issues still, comparing what they did then and what they're doing now. Census was at the parish level then, and the leaders, the Muluka chiefs and all that, were responsible to make sure that you register the birth, you register the death, and you also register anybody who migrates and comes into that village, and also put that information and escalate it upwards for consolidation. And it was effective.
So the UPC regime.
Now, today,
UPC regime.
Yes.
Today we
Joseph
have
Ochieno is not here.
we have
Ochieno
the
was
money,
here.
we have the money, we have the gadgets, we have the technology, we have people who have gone to school, and we're trusting them with this entire system, and we have a full day lost, and we are delivering half.
And the boss is Dr.
Of the
Mkiza.
target, and the boss is a doctor. I think we need to blame the entire system ourselves on how it was handled. You can't prepare for 10 years and then under deliver. 2, it is important that UBOS understands that it is employing the millennials and also Generation Z. these guys will put out all the problems you have in your systems. If you don't do what you say, they become disloyal. And that's what you saw. And it's going to be very important that your policies in recruitment and training must be vigorous and must deliver to the things that you promise the people you're going to use. And that is just called brand integrity. If Ubos said it's going to give remunerators money and he didn't, if he told them he's going to give them targets on time by 8 o'clock and he didn't deliver, it's brand integrity, and Ubos must revise that. Procurement issues, I think entirely Ubos has to blame. You cannot put it on the politicians. I think that's very wrong, because however much politicians wanted to sabotage whatever is going to be done, putting their relatives and all that, if Ubos had a very straight up system that it has announced and made public to the people, you'll be protected by the people. For us in the private sector, if you want to be your business to be protected, then you make your trader, your customers understand your brand and how you deliver your brand. And when they get to realize that if anybody speaks against your brand, it is your customers who protect you. If you don't have these people on this table to protect you on how you're doing your things, then I'm sure brand integrity is one thing you need to work out. And also we need to be more serious and leverage people's time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Honorable Ssemweya.
I haven't been counted. The village where I live, Bukasa.
That one is now no longer unique to say I haven't been counted.
Just to confirm.
Okay.
They sent I don't know whether a group, but 10. It's a very big village. Only 3 were able to operate the machines. They said the 7 should go to Bulindo, where they are going to work on the machines. They haven't come back. And that experience, because I called local leaders in my constituency to find out what was going on. The trouble, and maybe to say something positive, the Bureau of Statistics, their performance is better than many of government organizations. I rely more on information that they provide. I may disagree with some, but when you want information, statistical information, you readily get it. I have also read many of their reports. Many are not influenced by politics.
This is a bit of relief for Dr. Mkiza when you throw in some positives.
I read their report on the multidimensional poverty in Uganda. And it's not a report that government will want out. Very good report. So they do better than many of the government agencies. These statistics, the population census, as it's usually called, is very important for planning, but also to know many things we need to know about the country. If you're going to send money to district, population is one of the factors. If you're going to do this and that. So this is a very good exercise and very important exercise to the country. I don't know at what stage the statistics, the Bureau of Statistics, abandoned it to local leaders. And then you begin blaming them because you are professionals, you are an agency entrusted to do this work. I don't know why you had to abandon them to mayors. At least you should have worked maybe with other government agencies that are present in local government. But to work with the politicians and then you blame them, really is unfair on your part to the country. Because the moment you don't start it well, you're going to create a problem of believing in the statistics that you will produce after the exercise. And that's why this thing must not have loopholes at any stage. At every stage, you must not have any of these things that we are having. Because how do I believe in the outcome when the process has been riddled with the problems? So you create reasons for people to doubt information, even when the information is correct. And I don't know how you're going to address that, because you're going to rely heavily on these statistics for the next 10 years. But if the beginning has been like this, I begin asking myself, do I rely on this information, or they are also just speculating? And that's why for me, that's the disappointment that I have. First, I left home. because they said you sleep there, we sleep. After I didn't see them, at 10 I went to do other things. Then someone called me because I think they wanted to use it for public relations. Honorable, are you there? I want to come and enumerate you. I said, no, you are not enumerating me. My home is there with the people. Everything about me there, you go, and they didn't come because I think they wanted to use my presence so that they have done well in the area. I will not tell you the name, but someone called me to ask me if I am home so they can come and enumerate me and then use me to say maybe they have covered the area. So really, this information is very, very important, and it's information for the next 10 years.
Abdul, Honorable Katonga. And Ron here says, my question to Dr. Mukiza, what happened to enumerators' money? Were gadgets tested? What's the backup plan if a technical issues persist? Can we rely on the outcome of a census if the whole process has been hijacked by politicians?
First of all, let me start with the non-news. I've not been counted.
As I said to Honorable Ssemweya, it is not unique.
It's not unique.
Yeah, but
and if
statistics, you need to count everybody.
That is it. First of all, I think we have two conversations we need to make. One, to make the case for census, I don't think we need even to waste time on it because we need the data for planning purposes. Literally, whatever a government does, it should be well versed with the facts. And Dr. Mukiza should not labor so much telling us the importance of the census. And two, is there anybody in this country who believes we don't need that data? I have not even the most cynical one has come up and said, no, we need the census. So that is a sorted question. Now, how do we conduct the consensus? And that's where we are. And Ssemweya, the Honorable Ssemweya puts it better. If you have these sort of challenges, you are going to have people question actually the outcome. One, Oskar,
they've already started.
We are now admitting that there is some level of incompetence and interference. So if you combine those two, how do you ensure that the outcome is actually reflects the true picture of what is going on in this country? People have not been trained. You see, they may just decide now to feed in what they want because they must get the numbers. So, Dr. Mukiza, it's a very big challenge. It goes to the integrity of the whole process. I bought Oskar book, which he also donated to some other person, How to Lie with the Statistics. Because we need the statistics, but we need the correct statistics. If you are to compile the correct statistics using incompetent people or manipulated people, there is no way those statistics will end up being accurate. So you need to have that in mind. So how do you make sure that with this level of incompetence, whether it is only 20%, 30%, will actually produce what is accurate? Because we really want to rely on government statistics for whatever we do. And then, Dr. Mukiza, there's one thing which you should realize. If people don't have faith in your process, they resort to rumor mongering. They resort to assumptions. Say, no. Those guys who even failed to count us like this, they cannot give us the correct
the anger.
data.
You saw those videos. I don't know if Dr. Mukiza has seen them.
So to me, yes, get this clearly. And there are not many people praising this process, actually. So far. Yet all of us, we stayed at home knowing the importance of this process, and we are willing to stay. But why did I sit home the whole day? Yesterday, people hustling. Today, there are people who have now lost confidence. They said, no, we stayed at home and they didn't come. We didn't have an explanation.
Let me give you that information. The night of the census, if you could see the jam in the city, people were rushing home to get home before midnight. So that shows you the enthusiasm with which the public had.
We also hope you got there before
I don't
midnight.
move at night, so I don't.
Thank you, Abdul. Let's go to Dr. Mukiza.
So as I end, Dr. Mukiza, you see, this country needs this process badly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what we cannot plead that, because of technology, we are having hitches.
Yes.
The reason why you should have technology is sort out hitches.
Yes.
But even then, technology is now becoming
transition.
a problem.
The transition.
It's a problem.
Dr. Mukiza, across the table, you've seen that people entered this situation with hope. Only one person had no hope at all, and that is probably the youngest. Between her and Joshua will work out who's youngest. But
we know youth in this country also.
so she's the only one who had no hope. But everyone here had hope that the thing was going to work.
Even issued a statement.
Yeah,
The spokesperson is always the chief executive.
yeah.
He's the spokesperson.
Yes.
And then you can have a spokesperson, but the chief executive is always the
Yes.
spokesperson of an institution.
Well, I see the anger of the people, and we are feeling for them. We are not blaming the technology, actually. I'm very sure this technologically driven census is much better than the paper questionnaire, because what you are entering is coming in the system as already data processed, and that system has a lot of checks and balances. So it's not that the technology it's not that the technology is the one failing. What is failing is that some enumerators fail to get where to work in the system because they had not yet been assigned. These enumerators that came in outside the system were trained from the first day to the last. They actually know how to operate the machine. But it is the access right that they had not been given. So those are some issues. Yes, the loopholes.
So would you call that incompetence to begin with?
Incompetence on who?
On the ones who are supposed to give access, on the planners.
Actually, I would call it negligence.
Negligence. Okay.
Negligence of duty. And I have given some last warning that if they don't assign today, they have case to answer. We don't want anybody to be negligent and destroy.
And getting
No. What I said that they did not apply through the system, but the people they brought were tested and they qualified and they were trained. The problem is that now when it came to entering to their area, they cannot get access rights because they are not. Yes, so because we have trained them, they are part of us. We have now owned them. We have to give them the access right and do work.
Okay.
Yes. Now on the and what do you do if you are in our shoes? Would you say go away, we recruit again? It is since the time they have been trained, they have the equipment.
Continue.
Now on the issue of enumerators' money, I don't understand this money because the enumerators, the money we are going to give them is 50,000 per day for 10 days of enumerating. And they know that we shall pay them after they have done work. Secondly, we are using e-cash platform to pay them. We don't want any intermediary to get the money.
So there will be evidence that they've been paid?
Yes.
The money has come to you
via
digitally?
mobile money. On the phones, they are provided. So they will be paid. The money they are clamoring for as the
training
out of pocket. Actually, it is not. They are saying transport allowance because the requirement is a enumerator should come from the village where it's going to enumerate. You count your people together with your OC, who you know. So, and it is 10,000 shillings per day trained. For you to pay them as out of pocket allowance. Yes.
There was a letter training on the social media as your letter that said it was a mistake. We had said it, the amounts and whatever.
Yes. That letter was not my letter and not from authorized sources. Yes. So now, how do we pay them again? It is after they are in the system with their names, NIN, and telephone number in their names. And then we send the money. We cannot now dream and say, Honorable Ssemweya worked, we send. He will kill us in his Kosase. If we panicked and started saying, hey, these have not been paid, pay. So we are following the laid out procedures, the treasury accounting instructions to pay these guys. Once we get their details, their money out of pocket, which is 10,000 for the rural areas, for Kampala. For Kampala,
the payment thing. Now the gadgets.
The gadgets are all working normally.
Ssemweya has just said.
No, what he's saying
out of 10.
What he's saying is true because I got a call.
Okay.
From Mpara. Is it Mbarwa? Is it Mbarwa? Yes. Those people were complaining. So I said, give me that enumerator. And I asked, are you with your supervisor? Yes. So I said, go on aloud. With even people, the LCs listening, I said, have you been given rights? Said, no, sir, we are still waiting. They had not told people that it is because they are failed to, they don't have rights, that they can't operate the machines. They are saying machines not working. Yet they knew the problem.
But how did they get the machine in the first instance?
You see, they got machines when they are training. And they are using training module, which is open for everybody. Now, once you go into that machine, it takes you to supervisor because it is just training. After training, now we moved away from the training application to the census application, which was deployed at midnight.
Yeah.
On the 9th, now on the 10th of May. Now, for you to access it, you should have been assigned by your supervisor. Or you should have been in a system through the application, and then you go, you put your details, because the password and what have you remains the same from the beginning. Now, what we are addressing is to ensure that these people are given
access and so on.
The password,
so by
the
this
rights.
Afternoon, people will be working very well. But of course, the question that will come to you, Dr. Mukisa, is whether you bought the right equipment.
Yes, the equipments are you will not get good equipment like these ones. Tanzania used. No, more than these ones. Tanzania used the same. We went and benchmarked. We are using equipment manufactured by ZTE. This is a Chinese military firm, and it's one of the best equipment in the world.
Next time my traders can deliver.
No, they wouldn't. It would be in a mess. I will now give you the example. His traders. For bags, when you think we don't have bags, some businessman bidded competitively, said I will deliver these bags. But they are bringing in the bits. We have so far only received 79
Uganda.
out of 120 bags. The local businessmen here. Whereas these tablets, 120,000, were delivered with their power banks. Were delivered beginning March 16th. So they claim they can bring. You bank on them. The reflector jackets, which are just reaching.
Because we can't import.
No, the reflector jackets, they are saying we are just giving. They are coming in bits.
Yeah, but because you asked for e-FDC.
no. So, but yes, whereas the general mood is not okay, especially from elite. I have messages from everywhere. I've gotten an officer from Nakapiritu is saying everything is going on well. Naberatuku.
So, okay, we give two more examples.
No. There are many examples I'm going to give you.
Yes.
So if it was a question of networks,
it can't be network. Even Naberatuku can. Now here you can see here the ticks they are giving me. Pakwachi district,
tick.
Double tick. Nebi district, tick. Arua district, tick. Arua city, one tick. Meaning, they have started assigning and they are not full.
I'm going to ask my Chigo people.
Malacha district, Koboko, tick. Yumbe, tick. Madi Okoro, 1 tick. They have not yet completed the signing, and work is going on smoothly in Western Island.
By signing the equipment, that means now they have started work.
Yes, and this is a supervisor, one of his colleagues, a friend of the chair, saying that we are full throat with enumeration now.
What would I tell you?
No. I'm also getting there.
I have a James here who is on a laughing matter. Says, ask Dr. Mkiza. Now, content. Why do you ask mothers if all her children belong to her husband? Maybe that's people are shunning away from that one. But Dr. Mkiza, I'm going to get my producer
Especially
here.
Oskar, when you tell people that you can go away and let some other person answer those questions. I'm telling you, you may not have the honest answer if some other person is answering questions.
Let me get Dr. Mkiza a message so that we record this message. What do you want to tell the nation? Let me give you an opportunity to do a kalango for you boss here.
Thank you.
In the 8.5 days left, what should they be doing? What should they expect? It is recorded on the system, recorded on Facebook, on X, everywhere.
These 8.5 days remaining are hard days that we must hit the road and ensure that we enumerate every household in this country. We are going to have 100% coverage because for census, we shall not estimate, we have to count. And this is the only opportunity, as everybody says, it's once in 10 years that we get everything that stakeholders have been yearning for. The long questionnaire that you are hearing, every question we ask is looking at service delivery. By the way, it is a check to government, whether they have been giving services to the people. It is the well-being of people. It is how they are accessing the services and so forth. The other questions on birth and death and pregnancy is, of course, we are trying to get fertility rate of this country, nothing else. So we fear for those who waited for us the whole day yesterday and you didn't come.
Okay.
And we are sorry. We knew we would not cover the whole country in one day. That's why we put there 10 days.
But you're going to get better.
And
have recorded these things, Dr.
Yes,
Mkiza.
we shall get much better every other day. We only call for patience. What we have advised now the LC chairman, who are the guides of these people, is that they should make plans and appointments in a given area. You tell them, for example, here, Kamocha, this zone, we're around, we shall come between 10 and this, so that those people can wait for you.
Okay.
And then,
Thank you.
then in the evening like that, so that we program properly.
Mkiza, thank you for your time in the hot seat. We all hope for the best. As you saw from the beginning of the show, only one person had no hope, and the rest of us had hope.
But now I think she should have hope. because the Honorable Ssemweya, who is a critic, has told the world that he believes in our statistics, and it is true. Our statistics are not influenced by anybody.
We are going to check even that
all
way.
of the statistics.
Let's start with you, Robert Kasule Ssemweya. Whenever I start with a parliamentarian on this topic that was squeezed in last night, following a presidential letter, they start with speaking in tongues and so on. And then when you have Agatha here, I keep telling her, no, Agatha, leave that topic. Okay. Leave that topic.
No, we are
on it now.
We are making appeal.
So
we are making appeal. The general public that let us be patient.
No, I'm giving you the. We have moved. Okay. We have moved. This is another topic altogether. The one of the Speaker of Parliament. Now the President has written saying an investigation and so on, and the Speaker, I think a couple of weeks ago, had said that she wants a statement from government. I don't know whether this is a statement from government. Agatha was on air here. She nearly said that the Speaker has property, and I refused her to say it.
The other one.
But
the big one.
Now here we are.
Yeah, but we have not seen the statement yet. But what
we can show it to you.
The letter from the president.
But I thought he was not going to be using tongues like you.
No. But what I commented even before this, that the institution of parliament image is on the line, because if the head of the three arms of government is so what we want is take it serious, that maybe an investigation is conducted. If you are not guilty, the investigation will clear you. If you are, then we see a way forward. And we pray that the whole of Parliament takes this matter serious. And maybe what they had done in the beginning is to compete for whoever speaks louder on social media, whatever. So I think this must be officialized. That they may be official. That the responses be official. Our Foreign Affairs Ministry should also be responsible enough to interrogate the ones that are putting that on sanction, to specifically speak to the issues as outlined. As Agatha and the team first made quite a noise as to do with the parliamentary exhibition, and I found one of the of a friend found me in a school and said, but isn't it obvious resources are distributed here electronically, and this electronic transfers of resources from parliament to people and whatever is open, so why don't people respond officially instead of screaming social media? I think there is a trail, you can follow trails and explain. If need be, let our institutions like Auditor General, IGG, take action and rectify some of this, because credibility for the whole government is on the line also. Is on the line. Okay. So we need us to be serious when we're handling such matters of sanctions. Yes.
You're on microphone.
What's the question?
Were you surprised that the president wrote to IGG saying about houses in the UK and so on? And if it is true, were they declared?
So I knew when I was here last weekend that the president had been told about the properties Honorable Anita
just a bit louder.
Honorable Anita Among owns in the UK. I know that. I don't know if he feigned ignorance, but he said he didn't know about them. When he writes and says that our institutions, he first talked about the other two ministers and said the cases in our courts of law, there's no need for another. We know that, and Honorable Ssemweya is here, he spoke about iron sheets for a long time, like stood every day in Parliament and said thieves of iron sheets. They were many, they were much more than the three that are in court. The court process is not even going at the rate that it should. But also the confidence, it goes back to the confidence we have in these institutions. The president himself has sort of stopped the IGG from doing her work before. He has stood and said, leave people's lifestyle audit, we don't need it.
It was a proposal.
The IGG has said many times that the thieves hide behind President Museveni. I don't know if they just hide there, or I'm not going to say this so that you don't chase me on this show.
So that I don't switch off your microphone.
So, well, when thieves are hiding behind someone, it's you can't tell whether that person is not one as well. But when I saw that letter, I remember telling someone that sent it to me, I laughed so hard. Like, it's neither here nor there. You can't even understand what he's saying. And and we do not trust the IGG as an institution to actually conduct this investigation. I don't know if you know how many times people in this country have said the IGG goes after the small fish. Every day you'll have a small person who has a nurse who has stolen medicine. Let me just conclude the point. When the parliamentary exhibitions was on and issues were raised, and there are friends of mine that run an entity called the Public Square wrote to the IGG. The IGG wrote back and said, No, I think she even said to journalists that she will not undertake that investigation because the Auditor General is undertaking it. Those two have different mandate. There's nothing that should stop the IGG from investigating allegations of corruption. And we are not trusting that now it will happen, that the president who has said leave people, if you start interfering with them, they will invest somewhere else.
In short, you have no hope.
No, it's not just that. In short, I know that letter was dishonest, someone just saying something they don't even believe in.
So it won't work?
It will not.
Joshua.
But Oskar, from this letter the president wrote, I think we learned three things. One,
the importance of the public officers to declare what they own and their level of wealth. Two, we also learn that the president now has started to realize that these institutions are important, and some of his statements that affect these institutions must not be mentioned. Or if he's going to speak against a certain institution, he has to be careful how not to deform the mandate of that institution, because the IGG was on record and the president said, leave our people, as long as they are stealing and investing within, it is very fine. Now that statement, and today you are writing a letter to tell IGG to commission an inquiry. The two conflict.
The speaker has been working for the president very well.
And the third thing that we get from that we get from this letter is the fact that some of our public servants are continuously taking out the money to other countries, and maybe the president should stop blaming the traders for taking out the dollars. There are some people within the system who are actually taking out heavy monies and investing them somewhere else. I want to urge that the IGG goes ahead and does these investigations. And if indeed it's true that these properties are there and they were not declared, I think they should be frozen, and that should be a lesson to some of our people that they need to invest more here and actually invest right money, like we are doing. We are committing our money as traders.
You've had more allegations this time. In fact, Agatha was the one who was careful, but Joshua here is making even more allegations that you public people are taking big sums of dollars and investing them.
That he said
no, he hasn't said if. He said they are doing it.
He said if the contents are to be believed.
I have read, as I said, I am not on social media, but I get friends who send me messages. I read the letter, but this letter was not addressed to the IGG. I think that's a mistake many people are making. This letter is a letter of the British High Commissioner. Because the president says, listen to me, that I met the British High Commissioner and she complained. Or she notified me about this. To make the British High Commissioner believe that the president is doing something, you write a letter. Then you will not complain that we told him and he did nothing. And I think that was the intention of the letter. Nothing else. Oskar,
you have started so diplomatically, so nicely, you conclude like Agatha.
No. Do you believe that if Museveni wants information about my property, that he's going to ask the IGG? Do you in your mind that if the president wants to know how much I have, that he will now write to the reverend of Kasule, go and find for me this? He will have it in a second if he wants. So therefore, in this letter, there is nothing that Museveni wants, but he values the relationship with the British, and therefore I have acted. Didn't you see me? I even wrote.
Okay.
I know stories I have told you privately that I cannot say here, dealing with World Bank and other institutions. So he says something. I remember one time, I don't know who was visiting. I was still in the media active. So journalists started asking questions, and then Museveni replied in Uganda. So after after the guest had gone away, they were jointly addressing a press conference. Then he came back in English. You guys, when I have a visit, you can't ask those things. But during the meeting, he was in Uganda. So this time, the letter
Even
is a
with the
letter.
traders, he went to Uganda.
Yeah, is a letter of the British High Commission.
He wrote to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But
Whoever, I mean, it's not a letter to J.J. Odong. The content is for someone else.
I was hoping that Abdul Katuntu will have final word, but he has now already worked his face into some kind of anger. So, Abdul, finally, on this letter, and what will happen?
First of all, I think we just don't need to discuss general about the letter. Let us look at the contents of that letter. The letter is addressed to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And the reason why it was addressed to him was that the High Commissioner had made certain allegations. And he was asking the Minister of Foreign Affairs to follow up with the British government to see whether those allegations the High Commissioners had made were correct or not. That is the purpose of the letter. That's why it is addressed to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It is arising out of a meeting the High Commissioner had with the President and the allegation which she made. And the President saying, please, these allegations have been made. Can you now work with the British government and tell us what is true or not? But he also goes ahead in that letter to say, when the High Commissioner made these allegations, there were some responses he made to her where he thinks there is a problem or where there could be no problem. Then he goes ahead and says, by the way, where he thinks there could be a problem if there are properties which you have but you didn't declare, because that offends the leadership code. And that's the issue he raises with the IGG and the minister in charge of integrity. So it's not correct to start discussing in general, blah, blah, blah. We look at the substance.
Abdul,
yes.
If you read the final paragraph that I've put for you on screen, you could even just take 2 sentences of it.
No, I've read this letter.
It says, meanwhile, by copies of this letter, I request the IGG to inform me.
Yes, he's asking, and what is the information? You go again to the paragraph preceding, whether the declaration we make as leaders, we make them to the IGG, and whether those sort of properties exist or not. And to me, there is nothing wrong with the letter. It is saying these allegations have been made. IGG, inform me. 2, the Minister of Foreign Affairs follow up with the British government so that you get evidence about what she had alleged.
Did we say there was anything wrong with the letter? We said, and you were telling us about the contents. You missed one that is referred to the Attorney General.
Yes, he actually even asked the Attorney General whether it is correct to take any action or investigate a matter which is already in court, and the courts have not found. Yes. Okay. And he needed the advice from his principal legal advisor, who is the Attorney General.
So let us wait for the information. The show is ending. In fact, we are gone beyond time. I have a mention here. The Uganda Matters University is seeking applicants for undergraduate and postgraduate programs for the academic year 2024-2025. Applicants must have a degree in a relevant area from a recognized university and a minimum of 2 principal passes. Visit their campuses at Nkozi, Lubaga, Fort Portal, Masaka, Mbale and Kampala, or call 772-513-715. Uganda Matters University. Their motto, where knowledge meets opportunity.
You missed out one campus.
Which one?
The one in Idudi.
Idudi. Yes. Idudi. Thank you so much, gangsters of the day. Dr. Mukiza has already left because he has a lot to do. Thank you, Honorable Ssemweya, Honorable Katuntu, Honorable Kasule Ssemweya. Thank you, Agatha Tohaire. Thank you, Joshua Merere. Thank you, Star Cafe. Everyone has had a big bite. Ssemweya and Robert are still arguing on Robert's office. Yes.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.